a full day, a full 1 hour. So we've got a lot going on. And I can't get it to respond. But let's do this.
Why are you so flustered?
If you were not here May 1st,
Just having a little fun beat.
if you are otherwise a new employee of Azusa Pacific, stand up. Okay.
Jeez, she got
Here we go. We got a lot of new people. This might be the largest number of new people I've had in my tenure. This is now my 6th year as the AD. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to announce your name and your position. And we're going to start in the back with Michelle. Introduce yourself, Michelle.
Hi guys, my name is Michelle Weaver. I am one of the main assistants for the volleyball.
And a graduate of?
San Diego State.
And a
And then held office for him.
Yeah. Very good.
Stay
back there. Michelle's wonderful.
You want to sit down?
Let's go up here. Let's have some GAs up here.
I'm Megan Wilcox. I'm one of the GAs for Senator Shelby, and I've graduated from
I'm Callie, APU.
Callie, you have a last name.
Bolton Hill. I'm compliance coordinator under Shelby. Yeah.
Basically, this is all of my stuff right here. Sorry.
Very good.
I'm Afton Witten. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton, and I'm another grad assistant.
You can, when you announce, you can sit down.
My name's Spencer Green, and I'm also Shelby's GA.
Graduate of?
Vanguard University.
Very good.
I'm Haley Weiss. I'm a new graduate intern athletic trainer with volleyball and softball.
And?
I graduated from Washington State University.
Very good. Let's come up here, sir.
Sarah C.S., sports information graduate assistant, graduate of Wayne State College, Nebraska.
And South Hills native, right?
Yes. So graduating class?
Same graduating class. Was taught by Maccabee and Sorrell as well.
Kirby Ronning, I went to Dept University in Minnesota, and I'm the new assistant principal.
Very good. Great to have you all here. Young man, come up here. I know you don't think you do, but you are. This is Nate Nazca, Azusa Pacific. Well, are you a Azusa
No,
Pacific?
technically a Hawaii
alum. But you were here from when?
2004 to 2007.
And has been our assistant track coach for probably the last, what, 4 years?
6
years? And as I knew, full-time strength and conditioning coach. And I wanted Nate to speak a little bit about strength and conditioning here at Azusa Pacific. He has been working for about a month now, and he is going lights out. Yeah, he is getting after it. Is very excited to be working with our athletic program. We're excited to have our first ever strength and conditioning coach, and I wanted to make sure a little bit of his thoughts and his philosophy and where we're going.
First off, just wanted to thank Gary and April and the other administration for just that process of going through the interview process. Also have to thank the coaches who were part of that committee as well. Definitely was challenging and intimidating at times, but it's definitely worth the kind of process to get to where I'm at now. For me, guys, again, I've been an assistant track coach for the last 6 years, but started doing our strength conditioning a few years ago. Really took a hands-on approach of just diving in and figuring out, okay, what are the best track and field coaches doing for their athletes, what are the best strength conditioning coaches doing for theirs, and kind of taking that philosophy of making a complete athlete. So the weight room kind of, for me is a tool to enhance our athletes. So my vision and kind of the goals that I've set out for the program is to make sure that we're creating the best athletes possible and helping the athletes to achieve their, I guess, optimal performance would be the best way to put it. My goal is to be an asset to you guys, so I don't ever want you to feel that, again, it's a my way or the highway kind of deal. I very much I want to work with you guys to make sure we're developing the best programs for your athletes and making sure that the athletes are getting what they need from me, and you guys are getting what you need out of the program as well. So there's a lot that's going into it. Again, it's new. One of the exciting things about it is being the first strength conditioning coach here at the university. Again, this is an awesome place. There aren't very many Christian universities where a high level of excellence is expected and desired and achieved. And I'm really looking forward to continuing that and being able to take a part just in the program with the athletics and being from there. So if you guys ever want to stop by, I'm in the weight room pretty much all day, every day. So if I'm not lifting or working with the program, just come in and come see me. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to stop on by. So, you guys have any questions?
Well,
Is the athletic for the sports teams changed in the way?
Yes, so we're gonna, it's expanded the hours, so it'll be from 1 to 5:30, just to kind of work in for me, because I want to be in there with the athletes to make sure that we're in there. So that time's been expanded to try to accommodate some more time for me to work with the athletes, and then for you guys to open up a little bit more time for you guys as well, since the facility is, again, a dual-purpose facility. So trying to get a little bit more, again, athlete-specific with that, so. Change.
Any other thoughts or comments or questions for Nate? We're glad to have you here. Thank you. Part of the adjustment thing that's going on is Mike Barnett is moving into what used to be known as Jackson Stava's office, and Bethany will be joining him in that office. And Nate will have his own office there in the weight room, right where Mike was housed. I think Mike and Bethany are kind of doing that move this weekend, so probably next Monday you'll see Mike in there. But you'll know where to always grab Nate. Nate will be in that office there. And I am excited, yes, from a rehab standpoint, but I'm really excited about a build-up standpoint, that we're going to be bigger, faster, stronger. And I think this is really going to help us pursue our dreams of national championships. I'm not going to pressure you, but you're going to help us. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Let me, on the way out, those of you who've been here for a while, I expect you to shake hands with the new people. Okay, get to know them. Let them know who we are. A couple of people I want to introduce that are longtime Zoo Pacific associates, but they aren't here very often. First of all, it's great to have Heather Ann from One Stop here. She is our financial aid director. We're going to talk about her in a little bit. It's great to have Luke here. As always, Luke is our academic support person over there, and he's now full-time employee here at Zoo Pacific, working in, what's the academic support and retention? What's that?
No, we no longer do, I'm sorry, it's no longer in our name. It's the Undergraduate Academic Success Center. Keith Hall is our new executive director. He played basketball at Middle Tennessee State. He loves working with faculty, he loves student athletes, so we're in a great spot kind of as this transition. I've kind of tried to mold and shape some things to help student athletes, so faculty members, if you ever have thoughts for Keith, please come over, come meet him. He's a great guy. He would love to hear from you. He told me to tell you guys he's a size XL. So, but seriously, he loves to work with student athletes, but it's a great opportunity to kind of get in some of those conversations. We have new student success initiatives that want to work with that. So, yeah, also ad drop ends, adding classes ends next Wednesday. So if student athletes need stuff, send them to me.
Yep, I really want to encourage you to use Luke and send people his way. I don't want you to carry the burden by yourself. I don't want Shelby and her team to have to carry the burden by themselves. Use Luke and his team over there. Quick question, Julie.
Where are you housed?
We are right next to One Stop. If you walk out of Paul's office, we're straight ahead in the remodel trailer, right next to the temporary bathroom trailers. I have a great view. Come over, check it out. I'll let you know when Terry stops by the bathroom.
Hey, and one last introduction. It's great to have our full-time women's basketball coach, TJ Hardiman. TJ, is this your first ever department meeting in 9 years? Or 10 years? What is this? Might be. And you're going to be here all the time now, which is great. Great to have TJ here. So we got a lot to run through this morning, and I want to start. There's some things that we have to do legally, or we're required to do. And one of those things is we have to go through our blood-borne pathogens and emergency action plans. So I'm going to hand it over to Ben and to April to take us through those. And you want me to hand out some things? I'll do this while you talk.
Okay, this sign-in sheet, you only need to sign in on one of them. There's just 15 spots, so there's more than 15 of you.
And if anyone else, this is a 45-minute orientation.
There's a 45-minute orientation happening in 9.5 minutes.
The second one that needs to be passed around that everybody gets, we'll talk about it in just a minute, but I'm going to shorten this up so much that I don't even have a PowerPoint for you guys. I know that we've done this, most of you have all done this over 10 years, 5 years in a row now. It's something that OSHA requires us to do every year, so it's something that I have to get up and do at the beginning of every season and do with you guys. But I'm just going to highlight a few things related to bloodborne pathogens and and sharps and that kind of stuff real quick. So obviously, you guys know what bloodborne pathogens are. We want to treat blood or any other bodily fluid as potentially infectious. So anytime we have an injury that has some form of bodily fluid, whether it's mucus or whether it's blood or saliva, any of that, we want to treat it as potentially infectious. Even if you've known that person for since they were a little tight, just kind of growing up and going to kindergarten, like my son right now, or if you just met them, they're a new athlete for you, and you have no idea, this is kind of your first experience with them, we want to treat them as if they're potentially infectious so that we can take the necessary precautions to make sure that we don't accidentally get infected. When we talk about the different types of bloodborne pathogens, there's 3 primary ones that we are kind of looking at. There's obviously HIV. That's going to be the one that leads to AIDS. That one is, there's no cure for it, so it's pretty harmful, obviously. So if you have, if you do contract HIV, you're going to eventually, they'll go through some different treatments to try to minimize your, and lengthen your life as much as possible, but there's no cure for that. There's also hepatitis B and hepatitis C. So those are going to be the one, this sheet here, sorry, let's go here real quick. This one here is the hepatitis B vaccine. This one is the only one that does have a vaccine for it. Hepatitis C does not have a vaccine. So this the sheet that's coming around is just giving you the opportunity to do a couple of things. One, there is a vaccine for it, so that is provided to all APU employees free of charge at the health center if you're interested in getting that. If you know you haven't gotten, if you know you've never received that vaccine before, if it's something that you're not sure if you received the vaccine before, or you received it and it's been 10, 15 years ago and you want to find out whether or not that vaccine is still good, you can go there and they can do a little blood draw and check your antibodies and see whether or not you have enough antibodies or if you need a booster for that. Or if you know that you've had the vaccine recently or you feel comfortable with the risk level for that, then you can just decline that and you don't necessarily need to do anything with that. So that's what that sheet is. Just sign that one. Make sure on that one that you have your person next to it sign it as the witness, and then just pass it back to the middle and I'll collect those here in a minute. So last thing, I guess just kind of related to that, with some common symptoms that you're going to be associated with any of these types of diseases: HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, nausea, vomiting, jaundice. So if you potentially have a incident where you are exposed and you start to recognize some of these symptoms in you, then you might want to be a little bit more aware of that and get the necessary treatments for that. Real quickly, just to go review the protocol. What happens if you have an incident where you are potentially exposed to a bloodborne pathogen? Anybody? Yell it out. What do you do? Scream? Yeah, come to me, come to your athletic trainer. I'm the bloodborne pathogen coordinator for athletics. So you can come to me. I have the protocol there, the handbook. If you ever want to read through a very interesting, fabulously written policy, you can come see me. I can give you that policy to read through. But you can come to me, come to one of the athletic trainers assigned to your sport. Come to April. Any of us will help you out in terms of that. If you are exposed, then we're going to we're going to document that. We're going to get you to the health center or to the campus safety if it's after hours, and get you over to a clinic in Irwindale that will do some testing to make sure to see whether or not you were infected. If you are infected, they'll give you obviously the treatments that's needed. They'll have you come back at different points to be able to make sure that that you haven't had a delayed onset of that infection. I think that covers that pretty much. You do have the right to decline going to Irwindale Clinic, but you will just have to sign a waiver. So if you are exposed and you don't want to go, that's your right, that's your prerogative. But just know you'll have to sign a waiver with that, through the Health Center of Campus Safety. Kind of just one new thing that I wanted to bring up today. I know April sent out back in the spring about, it was a article related to bacteria and different vaccines and whatnot through, Consumer Reports. If you had a chance to read through that, it's a great read. If not, we can resend that to you if you don't have it, or you can go back and look through it. But the thing I wanted to highlight with that is, and we've talked to all of your athletes about this as well, but there's, you guys know a little bit about MRSA. We talked about MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. It's a bacteria infection that is resistant to the normal medication, normal drugs that we give to treat staph infections. But there's a lot more infections that are coming out that are becoming resistant to the different drugs that we have. And the reason that that's happening, and these are being called superbugs, are because we, as a population, are overusing our medications, overusing different antibiotics and whatnot. And so you'll notice us as a staff, and we would encourage you when you're at home and whatnot, try to minimize the use of Neosporin and betadine and different things until it's needed. So we don't want you to not use it. If you start to see that there's like an infection or something like that, that's the time when you want to try to use those antibiotics and that infection type stuff. But if it's just something where you just got a small cut and you can shower up and clean up and you can use soap and water, that's going to be your best treatment for it. Cover it up, keep it, just keep monitoring it and make sure that it doesn't have any signs of infection, which would be things like pus coming out of it, or swelling around the area, or just having like little streaks that come down away from the wound. So, but if you can avoid using the Neosporin when it's not necessary, that will help with the development of these like superbugs. So, any questions? All right, I'm out of here. You can pass those sheets in, I'll collect those and just keep them.
Thank you, Ben, for that very 45-minute talk on bloodborne pathogens. Solid. Very captivating. All right, Molly handed out a bunch of forms for emergency action plans, so if you can just pull that out, we're going to go through. You guys are obviously part of the emergency action plan. We will rely on you more heavily the less staff that we have. So we do want you to be aware of this, and then obviously there are times during the year in your non-championship season where we're not with you, we're not in the weight room, things like that. So we want you to know that you're part of it. So we're going to establish a plan, so we'll go right through that. So basically you'll see in your plan, it involves the personnel, the equipment, the resources around, the form of communication, and then specific venue directions. So for all of you, you should see, like say, personnel, communication, equipment. At the end of this meeting, at some point this week, those of you in your non-championship season, if you come pick up your first aid kit, those of you also who are germaphobes or concerned, we're happy to hand you out like a little packet of gauze and gloves if you want to keep those, on your person or in your office or whatever. So let me know and I can make you a little packet of that. We're happy to hand those out. And then the last thing on here, if in environmental conditions, where your safe locations are. So you guys are responsible for first aid and CPR. You've all been certified in that. At this point, there's extra medical personnel depending on where you are. So say baseball or acrobatics and tumbling, you guys are down there. You know that there's more people up in the stadium. If you're at softball, there's people at soccer or vice versa. So just know who's in proximity to you. The basic rule is to facilitate immediate care of the injured student athlete. Your guys' athletes are number one priority. If you ever come to a situation where a fan is injured or someone not on your team, always call campus safety to deal with that. Obviously, we'll come help if we can, but we'd rather campus safety take care of that, and we'd rather take care of your athletes. Communication protocol, so we'll go through that. So just pull up your sheet then. So you can see the emergency personnel is our staff and then you all. If you guys are a sport where we're not with you, obviously we'll have our cell phones with us. But if you're in your non-championship season, can you just make sure one of your coaches has a cell phone that's accessible? One of the things that you'll need that for is the lightning alerts, which I know you guys love. But we have that more contained now. So I feel like that the daggers in my little voodoo dummy, there's less of them now. So I'm happy about that. Glad we were able to change that. We did, just as a reminder, last year get more AEDs on campus. So I highlighted the ones, we'll have the ones at the athletic fields, the event center, the weight room, the Cougar Dome. But maybe think about where they also might be close to you. So baseball, there's one at the health center. So if that's closer, there's one in Engstrom. So think about the other places they might be that are close proximity to where you are. They're in all the campus safety vehicles. So like I said, they're in the dorms. So if you guys are on Dillon, it might be quicker to run into the dorm and grab one than it is to call campus safety. I'm not sure how long that might take. How quickly they'll get that to you. So just know different locations on campus. They're in most of the major buildings now. You have meetings. So we have site-specific directions. So if you go all the way down to the bottom of your page, and most of you have a couple pages, it has venue directions. You highlight that. That's what you're going to tell EMS when you call specifically. We've written it out so that if you have that panic moment in an emergency, you can't remember what the cross streets are where you are, it's all written out for you. So we want you to think about, so like this is the football packet, and you'll see, so we gave them they're the Cougar Athletic Stadium and the Dillon Recreation, the policy for that. But then they also use Citrus, so we have that. And they also use the soccer fields in the spring. And then we also have one in the weight room. So think about the different locations you're at, and kind of similar to how those emergency little signage is posted in most classrooms. They're in yellow, Holly.
Yeah, we
EAPs.
did end up getting them out because some of them were inaccurate.
Okay. So in a lot of locations, there's a yellow EAP because I'm assuming that you're not going to be carrying this in your pocket with you at all times. But what we're trying to do is get them up. So we may come by and say, hey, at soccer, where do you guys want it? We may say it, after what wall do you want posted so you can see it? Feel free to rip it off the wall. If you need an emergency, it doesn't need to stay there, and use it for your purposes. Medical equipment's different on site. Make sure EMS hangs up with you before you. Make sure that's why we have very specific directions for you. Documentation. 90% of the time we're going to take care of that is we're with you. If you have something big go down, like you have an emergency incident, ask your athletic trainer just to help you bullet point the things, like the flow of how things went in an emergency, because we'll probably think a little bit more how legal might want you to have documented things and make note of what you did and what actions you took. So we just want to be there to help you document a few things, so if you get asked later, you can have a good chronological retelling of that. So I don't expect you guys to remember this. You guys all did that FERPA training this summer, so remember that what happens on your field stays on your field. So similar, I was going to mention, as Ben already mentioned, we have already had one case of MRSA this year. So if you just keep reminding your athletes to shower, that's a separate thing. But if you do find out that it's your team, keep those things confidential. I feel bad for any kid who it's that kid that has MRSA. We don't need that information spread to all the rest of the teams. Although we will keep saying it that we've had a case so that everyone else remembers to shower. So I do want to use that for good publicity. So we'll maintain the equipment. And then lastly, we do have a catastrophic emergency plan. So if you were to have an athlete that sustained like a spine injury, potentially lost a limb, or potentially was going to lose their life, be it in the van, on a van ride someplace, or an actual event. We do have a set of policies up to take care of your teams. So I won't go through all the details, but basically once we get, my staff will make sure we're taking care of the athlete, and then we'll come in and help you out in dealing with the chaos that may come after that, and to make sure that we get, so we're already set up at the counseling center to get those resources to you, to get certain resources to the hospital, wherever certain people may be, or wherever you want to convene your group. So just know that if there's something catastrophic, we do have a game plan for dealing with that, and you don't need to know all that. Lastly, I'll just say thank you so much, all your athletes. We've done all 470 plus physicals. Praise Jesus, they're done. And you guys athletes were great. They were great for all the sexual assault education meetings. They were very attentive, so I just want to thank you for that. And I'll give Justin a shout out. His athletes were so chivalrous. The room we were in was too small, so his guys got up so the ladies could sit down in that meeting. So he's raised them right. So anyway, thanks for all that. And
Hey, one other item, it's a little bit of emergency action plan, but in case we ever find ourselves in an active shooter situation, they are now equipping the doors with locks on the inside. That was one of the problems we discovered as we reviewed active shooter situations that happen at the universities. That we had a number of doors on our campuses that you could not lock from the inside. And I believe they have secured most of them throughout this summer. Go ahead.
yeah, they have like 99% of them done. The other thing is if you're in a large lecture hall that has the panic doors that you burst out of, when you leave, look, there is, even on the panic doors, there's a lock to lock it from the inside to the outside, but even if it's locked, if you did need out quickly, the panic doors will still allow you to exit quickly without unlocking.
Okay, next up, our new Senior Director of Compliance, Shelby Stubbe.
Yes, welcome back everyone. Thank you for getting all of your student athletes to do their compliance forms. I know we're still working through some of that stuff, but appreciate all that. So we've already had a couple of violations through the school year, so I need to talk about them like we always do, and give you guys some heads up on some things. The first one was we had a program who some student athletes posted a picture on Instagram, and they tagged NutriShop in that post. NutriShop then went ahead and reposted that, and so it showed up on their feed for Instagram. Unfortunately, that is a violation that we have to do a student athlete reinstatement for. Those students are all reinstated and they're ready to go. But heads up for you guys and your student athletes, we talked about it in the compliance meeting. We can't have any business post any or tag any of our student athletes in those photos. So like I told your student athletes, please don't tag any companies in their posts, so that way we don't have the risk of potentially being retweeted or reposted or whatever it's called, because that will actually end up being a violation down the road. The second violation that we had a program that was in camp who practiced for a little bit longer than they should have, so just make sure as you guys are going through the next couple of weeks as we're transitioning into the school year that you're paying attention to how many hours you have during that week. That also talking about Kara, I'll just kind of bring that in. With having Nate on campus, as you guys are creating your practice plans for the week, the day, please remember that anything that your student athletes do with Nate needs to be included in that time. So for all of my winter and spring sports who are starting in your 8 hours next week, any time that they spend with Nate that you guys require them to do for strength and conditioning needs to be included in your hours. As you guys are recording those, make sure that those hours are included in there as well. I know that some of you, we might have told you that you guys could start practice today or tomorrow. Jackson and I botched that a little bit. We forgot that we started school a week early, so you guys can't start till Tuesday. So you guys can meet with your teams over the next couple of days, introduce, have them get to know each other, do all that kind of stuff, but you guys can't technically start until next Tuesday. So I sent an email out, but just a reminder for all of you guys about that as well. I know a lot of you guys are starting to do recruiting and setting up recruiting visits. Some general reminders with recruiting and official visits. There's a lot of paperwork and documents that we need you guys to turn in to be able to do those. We ask that all official visits are turned into the compliance officer on Jump Forward 48 hours in advance. Same thing with tryouts. If you're going to do that, make sure that the tryout form and those documents that are required for that are turned in 48 hours in advance. And if you're going to do ticket requests for football games or any of your home games, please remember that the ticket windows shut down at midnight the night before the games. So if you're going to do those, please make sure that those are done in a timely manner as well. Just a reminder with official visits, we need them to be on the IRL. We need them to have unofficial, but the most up-to-date transcripts that they have. And we need their test scores. If you have a screenshot of a test score, that will suffice as what we need. For tryouts, remember there's a lot more things that they do need. They need to give us